Hi, and welcome to Untethered with Jen Liss, the podcast that's here to help you break free, be you, and unleash your inner brilliance. I'm your host, Jen, and in this episode, we're going to talk about how breathwork is the tool you're missing on your self-development journey. Let's dive in. Hey there, unicorn. Welcome back to the podcast for this
Thursday thread. It's a Thursday thread.
Thank you to Pam Marie Hobby for that beautiful Thursday thread jingle. If you ever want to submit a Thursday thread jingle, please know that that is always welcome. You can email it to me to hello@jenliss.com. You can send it to me as she did on Facebook or Instagram. Always welcome your beautiful jingles. We are in the thick of week 1 of Brilliance of Breathwork Month. This is an initiative that I started to help demystify, increase awareness, and really elevate some amazing practitioners that are out there in the world doing this modality that I myself offer to the world. I'm passionate about breathwork because it has transformed my own life. I see it transforming the lives of my coaching clients, those who take it full on and just say, yes, I am going to do this, even though it's weird, even though I'm resisting it, are seeing major benefits, as did I. And still, we will definitely fight engaging in these kinds of practices. And that's what we're talking about this week is really mindfulness. And what are all of the ways in which we will avoid and really avoid even thinking about the power of mindfulness, the power of practices that help us to enhance our mindfulness. In fact, mindfulness in general seemed like a whole bunch of freaking mumbo jumbo until I personally tried it. And one of the things that I have seen and found in my own experience and in other people's experience, it's like we have to get to this breaking point where enough is enough, or we're in so much physical or emotional pain that it's the thing that we turn to because it feels like we have no other choice. And there were 2 times in my life where I have turned very deeply into mindfulness, where I really enhanced my own personal practice with it. One of those was when my husband was having a very dangerous surgery. He was in surgery. I think it was supposed to be a 4-hour surgery. It ended up being a 9-hour surgery. It was one of those things that was definitely going to impact the rest of his life, the rest of my life. And it was an incredibly stressful time. And not only that, I was training for a marathon. So while my husband, he did come through the surgery, while he was recovering from this very intense surgery and entering into a very intense healing journey from this surgery, from a condition that he'd had the entire time that we've been dating. And this surgery was to finally do something about it. He had his entire colon removed. I'm training for a marathon. He's in the hospital, and I have to say, bye, honey. I hope the nurses can come in and change your tubes so that you can roll over while I go do a 16-mile training run because I'm running a marathon in less than a month. This was the scenario that I was in. And I was so emotionally, like, the strain on your marriage, if you have ever gone through something this stressful from a health perspective, the strain that puts on your marriage is incomprehensible because of just the emotional toil that you and your spouse, it doesn't matter if you're the one going through the illness or if you're the one supporting through the illness, it's a lot. It is a freaking lot. And meanwhile, I'm training for my very first marathon, something I never thought that I could possibly do. And I didn't know how the heck I was going to get through this 16-mile training run. 16 miles, y'all. Right now, I don't think I can run an entire mile because I haven't been training and I haven't been running. 16-mile training run. Haven't slept because I've been trying to sleep on this teeny tiny couch in the hospital. I was like, what the heck am I going to do? Well, recently I had discovered this book called Chi Running. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll finally put into practice this guy's ideas of mindfulness and breathing techniques while running. And it worked. That's all I can say. It worked. I used the breath technique that this gentleman, Danny Dreyer, had in his book. And I got through that 16-mile training run. Not only got through it, I was thriving by the end of this training run. It was transformative. This was my first foray into breath work. And I was just wowed. Like, how is it possible that I was in this much pain? I was this afraid of doing a 16-mile training run. And all of a sudden, I feel better after this 16-mile training run than before I started. And it was all the mindfulness and breath work that I was doing as I was running. And I was doing an incredibly simple breathing technique. As I was running, I was breathing 2 in, 2 out through the nose, no mouth breathing, 2 in, 2 out through the nose. And as I was doing it, I was focusing on the sensation of the breath as it moved in and out of my nostrils. That was it. That was the recommendation. And I focused on that. And every time I could feel, as he described, I could feel my mind wanting to focus on the lizard brain. I can practically feel it. It's like my brain starts to activate somewhere in the back of my skull, and it starts telling me things like, this sucks. This is painful. You are never going to get through this. How could you possibly do 16 miles when you're only this far into 1 mile? All of these thoughts start to come up. I can practically feel them in the back of my brain. And as I was breathing, I could feel like a light that was beginning to brighten in the front of my brain, like in the front of my head. I'm not kidding you. Like when we talk about demystifying mindfulness, like, y'all, this is physical stuff. I could feel it happening, whether it's happening or not. Although science says, yes, that is indeed what is happening. You're activating the neocortex, which is generally in that front part of your brain. The amygdala is in the back part of your brain. And I felt like I could feel it. And in turn, I could feel the difference. I could physically feel these sensations, the difference in my entire body, but I could really feel it just up in my brain, just becoming more present as I focused on the breath. It was wild. The next huge foray that I had into breathwork was when my dog Moose passed away. Now, if you are not a dog person, you may never understand. If you are a dog person and like a dog person, you may fully understand. My dog Moose was my soul dog. My soul dog. He and I just connected at a level that I can't describe. Even my husband, like there's just something about this dog. And he died very unexpectedly. Yes, he was getting older, but we were not prepared. It was incredibly unexpected. He passed away, and I was in gut-wrenching emotional pain. I didn't know where to turn. I had so much beautiful support from friends and family, but I was just sobbing all day, every day. I was in so much emotional distress. And so my husband and I, we're just trying to get out of the house, and we go to a bookstore and we're looking around at some books, and I happen upon this tiny little book. It's like a nothing book. There's nothing to this little book, but this book was by Thich Nhat Hanh, and he is a Buddhist monk. He's a pacifist. He has all of these beautiful teachings. And this book, You Are Here, is the book. And in the book, he talks about this very simple breathing technique that you can do that helps you to connect with yourself and to connect so deeply with your energy, with the energy of the universe, of the energy of all that is, all of existence. He teaches in this book that everything that is present is also the past. Everything that is present is also the future. And in my pain with my dog Moose, that felt really good to me because I could reach out to him. It's like, if that is true, if that is truly true, then I can meet Moose right now in this moment in my heart and my energy. I can reach into all time and space and meet him. And so I used Thich Nhat Hanh's breathing technique, which is simply this phrase: breathing in, I know that I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know that I am breathing out. And then he walks you through a very simple couple of phrases that you say to yourself while focusing on your breath and helping you to connect to what truly, truly is right here, which in quantum physics, all time and space collapse, right? So if we can reach in and reach into the present moment so deeply that we can reach into the past, I could feel myself right here with Moose, and I still do it all the time. I could feel myself going into the future and still being with Moose, my dog. And so this act of breath combined with mindfulness, so simple, so practical, helped me get through one of the toughest moments of my adult life, losing my dog. Again, if you're not a dog person, you might be like, wow, that seems a little bit intense, but y'all, it was a little bit intense. Let me just say, love that dog so much with all of my heart. So what do these couple of moments in my life where I found mindfulness combined with breath work, how did these moments transform my life and my own self-development? And why is it something that I'm like, breath work is the thing that is going to help you along on your self-development journey? Well, here's the deal. When we are in physical and emotional pain, we are living in the past. We are reliving past experiences. So little, just like a teeny, tiny drip of actual pain is right here in the present moment. The rest of it is residual. It is residual thoughts that are coming back into your mind. If we take the marathon, as I'm running and as I'm training, what I noticed as I was breathing and becoming present with my breath and beginning to notice the thoughts that were coming into my head, I noticed that so many of the thoughts that were creating my pain were thoughts about what had happened before and that might happen again. Remember the time when you ran the mile and it really sucked. That thought was creating pain in my body in the present moment. When really, if I got fully present, none of that pain was actually existing. It was happening because of the past thought that I was experiencing. So when we can release those past thoughts and become fully present, there's no pain. There's very little pain. If there is pain, then you do need to become aware of it. You know, if you sprain your ankle or something on your run, or if your body is literally saying you need to stop, then we have to listen to that. And becoming present can certainly help you to really recognize those moments when you fully do need to stop, because there are people who are living so far in the future, sometimes so far toward that finish line, that we're no longer present in our bodies. So breath can help us because it creates a focal point that is physically happening right here in the now. And that is where breath makes the huge difference. Because when we try to meditate and we try to be mindful and we try to do all of these practices, first of all, we can get stuck on trying to do it right. And I am not a proponent at all of trying to do things perfectly right. I don't think there's a right way. I think there is a perfect way for you in this moment right now to be engaging in something that is healthy and good for you. And also the flurry of your thoughts is really hard to let go of. The mind is busy. That is what the mind does. And it's so good. The mind is caring for you. It's making sure that you're safe. It's making sure that you're comfy. It's making sure that you know that your teacher in third grade told you that you can't spell that word right, whatever. Some of the thoughts are not so helpful, but it thinks it's being helpful. So calming the busyness of that mind and saying, let go of all of the thoughts, just release all the thoughts. We got to be honest, that doesn't work for everybody all the time. And it doesn't work for most people, even people who've been meditating forever. What does work to help you release that busyness of the mind and actually fully become present is breath. And we've known this for eons. That's why breath is embedded into all of these ancient practices: yoga, breath work, so much meditation, Buddhist monks, like they all use the breath. It's an effective way to fully come into the moment. Truly in the moment is the only place that change is present. You can't change the past. You can't change the future. You can change the now. And when you change the now, then you change. I mean, if we're talking, we can go quantum. When you change the now, technically, you are changing the past and the future. That is the only place. That is the only thing that can be changed, is this exact moment. So we can choose to live in physical pain. We can choose to live in wishing and wanting of the future, or we can come right here. And this is demystifying mindfulness. And that's the focus of this first week of this Brilliance of Breathwork Month, is just demystifying the crap out of this. This is so practical, y'all. You cannot change the past and the future. You can only change the now. And then in doing so, then you are able to shift those things. But we have to do it right now. And there's no way that I personally have found to bring me fully into that now moment than the breath. Maybe you have other ways that work really, really well for you. Maybe just stretching your arm and feeling into that stretch, maybe just feeling, sensing. There's little exercises that many people have shown on this podcast, little like rubbing two fingertips together. That's one that I sometimes use as well. But combine that with breath. It's like a double whammy. The breath just brings you back into your body where you can feel, this is physically happening in my body right now. The breath is actually moving through your body right now. Thoughts that are going through your head are the past, because guess what? We sense, we feel before we think. We feel the sensation before we register the thought. That's actual science. There is a time that happens between the feeling, the sensation, and the actual thought. So if you can become in tune with the physical essence of your body, then you are noticing things faster. So why do you think that somebody like Steve Jobs, who meditated, who had a meditative practice for years and years and years, decades, before he had the amazing idea for Apple, for the Mac, for the iPad, for the iPhone, all of the ideas that he had came from him really honing this ability to get fully present in his body. And you can do this too. And you're not doing it wrong. You can use your breath right now to draw in a nice deep inhale and a nice deep exhale. You can become present with the breath as it is moving in and out through your body. Do it with me right now. Just notice your breath. If it feels good, close down your eyes. Notice the rise and fall of your chest. Notice that chest space. Is it rising on your inhales? Is it falling back on those exhales? Now placing a hand on your belly and a hand on your chest. Noticing which one is rising further. Is the chest expanding more than the belly? Is the belly expanding more than the chest? Seeing if you can draw your breath down into the belly, expanding that belly on your inhale, letting it completely relax on the exhale. Seeing if you can expand that belly further than that chest space on your inhale. Just noticing how that feels. Noticing where your energy is at now that you've been focusing on your breath. Do you notice any shifts? Has anything relaxed? Has anything changed? Are there any thoughts that you might have been stewing on that might have disappeared in the past couple of minutes as we've been focusing on your breath? Letting those thoughts fill back in. Maybe choosing to leave behind any thoughts that might not have been serving you. Noticing how you can select your preferred thoughts. Taking a big, deep inhale into your nose, out through the mouth. Opening your eyes when it feels good to you. Just coming fully back into the present moment. Now, whatever your experience was with this tiny little breath practice, maybe your mind was still busy all the way through to the end. Maybe you realized when I mentioned it, oh my goodness, I actually did leave my thoughts 100% behind, and now I can feel them filling back in. None of it's wrong. None of it is wrong. You cannot do these practices incorrectly. Really, the only sin is when we're not doing it at all, because training ourselves to become mindful, that is where we can create change, where we can start to reprogram ourselves, where we can choose to notice some of those thoughts that maybe aren't serving us, that we can let go. And maybe today it doesn't feel accessible to let those thoughts go. But if you do a practice like this more and more and more, noticing when that past thought or that future wanting is coming into your mind, you can begin to let it go. You can begin to choose a new thought. But we have to start creating that little bit of gap, that little bit of noticing that's happening right here in the present moment, that noticing that you are not the thoughts, that the thoughts are coming into your brain, that the thoughts are actually not who you are. It's simply something that is passing through this very human brain that you happen to have. It's all an interconnected piece of who you are. And yet we get to choose. We get to choose those thoughts. You get to choose to stay in the past. You get to choose to stay in the future. And the breath, in my experience, is the most powerful way to get us into that beautiful present moment where we get to make a choice. And there's so many places in this life where we feel like we don't get to choose, right? And that's what untethering is all about from my perspective. Like, we do actually get to choose always, but we feel like we don't. And part of that feeling like we don't is because we're so wrapped up, not in the present moment, but in all of this other stuff, the have tos and the shoulds and the, expectations from other people. We think that that's where we have to be living. And one by one, Breathing in, I know that I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know that I am breathing out. Each time we do a practice like this, a mindful practice that brings us back into the present moment, we realize once again that we get to choose, because you do. So, what are you choosing today? Are you choosing to just live in this program that somebody else programmed for you? This past? Science is showing that like so much of our past, like epigenetics, we're reliving the things that are learned, these genes that are getting turned on in us because we experience something stressful that seems like the stressor that our great grandparents faced. And so it activates in our body. You can become present with that and become aware of that. You can change it. And then you get to change that for all future people who you experience, who you interact with. If you just keep reliving this activated state that was probably necessary for your great grandparents who were experiencing some kind of horror, but you're not right now standing in line at the grocery store experiencing that same situation, but your body thinks it is. So breath can help us become present and say, oh, that thing is feeling really activated in me, but that's not actually necessary. I am going to choose to be pleasant to the person who's behind me in line, even though I'm also noticing in my body that I'm very activated by what they just said or did. This is where we truly grow. This is where we grow. So thank you for coming along on this Brilliance of Breathwork journey, coming along with me to talk about just demystifying the crap out of these practices. It feels weird. It feels vulnerable. When people come with me in session, it's like it can feel so incredibly vulnerable. And at the same time, it's so incredible. I can't even describe with words how incredible it is to be in a breath session, especially one of those where it's that perfect mix where your mind just really lets go and it lets you get into your body. It lets you get fully into the present, and you might have some magical thing drop in. It's so cool. It's so cool when that happens. And at the same time, it's okay and it's beautiful sometimes when it doesn't happen. And that's why I'm passionate about creating a breathwork membership where you can create a practice of regularly being held and supported in the safety of the breath, where you can let yourself have a moment, have an hour, have 30 minutes, have 15 minutes, have 5 minutes of your day to be in the present moment. It's so beautiful. And it's an honor to be able to share it with you. So if you are interested in joining my membership, Brilliant Breathwork, you can go to jenlist.com/join. If you join before November 30th, you are considered a founding member. As a founding member, I'm giving you 30% off, y'all. 30% off. I'm not going to be given this kind of a discount again. So if you want to join as a founding member, as long as you stay in Brilliant Breathwork, you get this 30% off. Another beautiful bonus. You are going to get my virtual retreat that is happening on December 1st. Got some amazing experts who are coming in and going to share their knowledge and work you through some amazing practices happening at this virtual retreat. Friday, December 1st, you will get the replay of it as well if you get access. So if you join Brilliant Breathwork now, you not only get to be a founding member, get 30% off, you also get access to this amazing virtual retreat. So you can join once again at jenlist.com/join if you're interested, and hang with me for the rest of this month. So many cool people. In fact, the author of that book that I just mentioned is going to be on the podcast as well. Chi Running, Danny Dreyer. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be so amazing to have him on the podcast. I can't freaking wait for you to get to meet him and to hear why he has done what he has done, what inspired his story, and for me to get to like geek out and tell him how his book literally transformed my life in so many ways. So stay tuned for all of the amazing expert guests who are coming on. If you go follow me, I'm Untethered Jen on Instagram. I'm going to be doing Instagram lives with some of these podcast guests and with other experts as well. So tune in to all of it. Really looking forward to continuing to share this with you and elevating these really cool people who are making massive shifts alongside humans just like you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed that little breath practice that we did right there in the middle of the episode. If you were just spinning down to the end of the episode, hoping that you'll catch a little tinge of a breathwork episode, it happened in the middle in this episode. Thank you again once more so much for listening. You just keep shining your magical unicorn light out there for all to see. I'll see you next time.